In this video, we will talk about Canadian society and its characteristics. To begin, let's see some quick facts about the society of this great country. The first one is that Canada is a constitutional monarchy. By the other hand, Canada is often characterized as a very progressive, diverse, and multicultural country. More than 1.4 million people in Canada identify themselves as an Aboriginal person. On the other hand, life expectancy of Canadian society is 81 years. Now, Canada has a population of over 37 million people. In this country, population density is among the lowest in the world. 19% of the people in this country are of English descendants, 15% of French descendants, and 14% of Irish descendants. And around 4% of the population is Aboriginal. In this country, the 74% of the population adhere to the Christianity, the 2% to Islam, and around 1% to Judaism. Now, let's go deeper in the analysis of Canadian society. Canada was born from the encounter of Aboriginal people with two European nations, France and United Kingdom. Today's society is largely the legacy of the French and English-speaking Christian civilizations that colonized the region. France and England transmitted the legal and democratic institutions and the universal values of justice, equality, and the rule of law. Given that the current Canadian society is a legacy of colonizing civilizations, it's convenient to use as Maglow's study reflected in his paper Institutions as a Fundamental Cause of Slum Growth, where the author mentions that the institutions created in the era of colonization by the colonizing nations are a fundamental basis for understanding current society and all the characteristics of these colonized countries, such as Canada. According to Acemoglu, generally the social characteristics of the colonizing nations were transmitted to the colonies in one way or another, and this has been the cause of both the social or economic development that nations like Canada have today. So, for the study of society, we will use the analysis of variables concerning its main characteristics. These variables and the data belonging to each variable are part of Hofstede's six-dimensional model that takes part of Acemoglu's theory. First variable is power distance, that measures the differences in power between members of a society, as well as the acceptance of this disparity by individuals at lower levels economically and socially. In this variable, Canada obtains a score of 39, which in this model means that Canadian society is less unequal and the disparity between social classes is not visible. According to Hofstede, Canadian society is marked by interdependence among its inhabitants, and equality is highly valued. It's common for managers and staff members to consult with each other and share information freely. When it comes to communication, Canadians value a direct exchange of information. Second variable is individualism versus collectivism, which makes the analysis of the integration of individuals to large social groups, or on the contrary, to greater isolation. In this variable, Canada obtains a score of 80, which says that this society is clearly individualistic, which means that the members of this society in general are more independent. This also indicates a society with mostly self-sufficient individuals in all areas. According to Hofstede, in this country, hiring and promotion decisions are based on merit or evidence of what you can do. The next variable is masculinity versus femininity, which studies the tendency of the culture to adopt more feminine or, on the contrary, more masculine patterns of behavior, as well as the values and way of thinking of each gender. In this variable, this country gets a score of 52, so this is a society with a moderate level of masculinity, which according to the model translates as a society oriented to success. It's ambitious and it's oriented towards personal achievement rather than the groups. However, it's a society with a balance between personal life, leisure, and professional life. On the other hand, we have the variable or uncertainty avoidance. which means the feeling of the population with having and handling new experiences or unknown situations. In this variable, Canada has a score of 48, clearly indicated that Canadians love uncertain futures and there is great acceptance for ever-changing and evolving environments and situations. According to Hofstede, this is indicative of the easy acceptance of new ideas, innovative products, and the willingness to try something new or different, whether it is technology, business practices, or consumer products. Canadians also tolerate the ideas or opinion of anyone and allow freedom of expression. Now, the fifth variable is long-term versus short-term orientation, which means the society's perspective regarding the present or future events. In this variable, Canada has a score of 36, which according to this model refers to a greater tendency towards normativism, which translates into a society that prefers to preserve and encourage traditions and traditional norms over the promotion of social and cultural change. That is to say, there is great respect for traditions. On the other hand, this approach also defines Canadian society as a society with an eye towards short-term achievements, that is, with a need to obtain things in a short time. Therefore, the propensity to save is low compared to countries at a similar level of development. Finally, we're going to talk about the variable indulgence versus restraint, which means how people control their impulses and desires taking into account parenting factors, where indulgence is weak impulse control and restriction is a strong impulse control. Canadian society is classified as an indulgent society, as it obtains a score of 68, which means that Canadians have an attitude of fun and a constant search for please their interests and desires without an apparent restriction, not even a monetary restriction. Now, you're watching a graphic summary of the value of the variable shown in this video. Now, remember that according to Hofstede and Acemoglu, the institutions and societies established by the different colonizing nations are what define the characteristic of current societies. So below we will make a comparison of another North American country with Canada. This country is Mexico, which was colonized by Spain. In this case, we observe that Mexico has a more unequal society. It's a less individualistic one. It's a society with a tendency towards a more masculine factor and with more fear of uncertainty. Quite the opposite of Canadian society. These characteristics, if they are compared with Spain, have a high correlation. Now, I hope you learned a lot about Canadian society and you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.